Thank you, Heather. Master, wardens, fellow aldermen, my lords, ladies and gentlemen. It's a huge pleasure to be here with you tonight, celebrating Pollinating London's Together Autumn Equinox dinner at the beautiful Vintners Hall. Sheriffs aren't supposed to say this, but this is one of my favourite halls. It is also a great honour to be sharing a platform with Professor Dasgupta. I have known Pata for many years, as we both lived in the same village in North Norfolk, if you can believe that. At least he has gone on to great things. For those who don't know me, I'm Alderman Nick Lyons, Sheriff of the City of London, and as has been said, subject to election, I will become the Square Mile's next chief bottle washer. When I saw this engagement in my diary, I was reminded of the time that an acquaintance bet me £100 that I couldn't do an impression of a butterfly. I thought, well, that's worth a flutter. I don't know who writes this stuff. But to begin today, I would like to recognise the people who started PLT and have helped to drive it forward. Anthony Bickmore, past master of the Wax Chandlers, and Heather Barrett-Mould, past master of the Gardeners, who co-founded the initiative. And of course, John Burton, a wax chandler who has chaired PLT for the last 2 years with Heather as his vice chair. Together, you have created a great model for how livery companies can work as one and utilise their different skills and knowledge for a shared purpose. As a society, we often speak about the climate emergency. But the ecological emergency, which is inseparable from the former, is often overlooked. Pollinators are the unsung heroes of the natural world. In the UK, these hard workers pollinate £690 million worth of crops every year, from supermarket staples like strawberries and tomatoes to oilseed rape for biodiesel. Pollinated plants capture carbon dioxide, which is going to be essential in helping the world reach net zero. And they make up the city's wild spaces, little green oases in a landscape of concrete and glass, which have a restorative effect on our mental health and well-being. Unfortunately, due to factors such as urbanisation, British pollinators and their habitats are in rapid decline. Over 97% of the UK's wildflower meadows have been lost since the 1930s. And the changing climate is altering migration patterns and disrupting natural growing and blooming seasons. Around 76% of the UK's butterfly species have declined in either abundance, occurrence, or both over the past 40 years. And nearly 1 in 10 species of wild bee face extinction. And this is why the work of PLT is so vital. With the support of livery companies and the City of London Corporation, PLT has already delivered a great deal in its short life. The corporation has stewardship for several gorgeous green spaces, both inside and outside the city's boundaries. But we need to see more, larger, diverse, joined-up habitats in order to return to healthy pollinator population numbers. And that's why, in March, the corporation awarded PLT a £230,000 grant to help create biodiversity corridors, providing pollinators with connected green pathways across the city, linking with surrounding boroughs. And one of the UK's oldest settlements, the city is well positioned to create a template that can be replicated in urban spaces across the UK. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what this funding helps PLT achieve in the next 2 years and to see the output of the research that is now underway. And I will certainly be looking out for you and your carbon neutral float at the upcoming Lord Mayor's show on November the 12th. I was very pleased to introduce John to Bupa as sponsored, as I used to sit on the board of Bupa and chaired their sustainability committee. And it's worth saying, as a bit of a plug for Bupa, they are very, very focused on the link between biodiversity and human health. Now, I don't want to preempt our next speaker, but I think Professor Dasgupta presents a really interesting argument for the inclusion of natural capital, the absorption of carbon, the provision of habitats for pollinators, etc., in our calculation of wealth. And the city is a place, and always has been, for new perspectives, and his ideas give much food for thought. Before I wrap up, I'd like to give you an overview of what my focus will be if I'm lucky enough to be elected Lord Mayor. The biggest priority for the country right now is economic growth. So I will be looking at how we can stimulate the financial and professional services sector, the beating heart of the UK's economy, to boost growth by investment in infrastructure, in green and sustainable finance, and in science and technology. Education is also very important to me, a golden thread through my life. So I will be working also with charities and businesses to create a national plan to improve financial literacy. During my tenure, I'll be taking forward the corporation's aims to shape outstanding sustainable environments and ensure people enjoy good health and well-being. As you've heard, my fellow Sheriff Alison Gowman heads up the Livery Climate Action Group, which is helping liveries with medieval roots to do their bit to secure the future of the planet. And through our climate action strategy, the corporation has set a challenge to reach net zero carbon emissions from our own operations by 2027, just 5 years. And I'm pleased to say we have cut our annual carbon emissions by 31% since 2018. Finally, as I take on the reins, I will also be thinking about the city's relationship with our new monarch. Her late Majesty was a firm friend of the city. Her death weighs heavily on us all. But we do well to remember the words of the palace beekeeper to the Queen's bees as he placed them in mourning. "Don't you go, the King will be a good master to you," he said. King Charles is perhaps the most green-fingered monarch in history. Known to speak to his plants, he was recently vindicated when researchers found that tomato plants, which were read to daily, grew larger than a control group. I know he'd be very interested in this group's work. And to those assembled here tonight, I'm sure John and Heather would agree your support is essential to PLT's success. So please go out and spread the word about this fantastic initiative to your fellow liverymen. And to put it another way, go forth and pollinate. So, congratulations again to PLT for protecting our precious pollinators and creating habitats that can be enjoyed by all the Square Miles residents and visitors, be they insect or human. And I wish you every success.
Thank you. Thank you.